truth, this is the place for you. No need to complicate it, it's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken. If you need truth, this is the place for you. No need to complicate it, it's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.
And welcome to the actual Bible Book Club. So glad to have you with us. We're so glad to be on with you tonight, hoping that you are having a wonderful time where you are. Let's get into this study. It's going to be very interesting. We find that the word of Elohim is very clean, very clear, very pure. We are here hoping you are ready to enjoy yourself in the reading of what is known as the word of Yahweh our Elohim. So let's take this opportunity and just begin to have a word of prayer. And we will move very quickly into this study for tonight. Glad to have you with us. Let's take opportunity to bring in this study via prayer. Father, we thank you for your word, your will. You are Yahweh, our Elohim. You are the God of Avraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob. We give your name praise. We give your name glory. We speak Hallelujah. And we're asking you now that as we give you the highest praise, you would elevate us to a place in you that would be higher than we were before we started. I render all to you. We repent for any and all sins, thoughts, ideas, mindsets, wills, personal plans, processes that we think are better than what we should be having, and the way we want to accuse and deal with people and work with others. We repent for anything that transgresses your will and ask you to come into our hearts as we accept the blood that flows from Emmanuel's veins for cleansing of our sin, and then the word of Elohim that flows from Emmanuel's mouth that gives us the way back to you, the door, the way to the Father. So we thank you for Adonai in Yeshua, making him the Mashiach, and we stand today on your word. As we open up the Torah, we ask you to guide us through it. I decrease anything and everything that is VW, and I ask you to commandeer my voice, my mind, my eyes, my ears, my throat, whatever you need of me to communicate this tonight. I am available to you. And now I digress, that you would increase in this space and place tonight. In the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach, we do pray this and say this. Amen. Well, everybody, so glad to have you with us. Let's get started in this opportunity to open up his word. And before we do, just remember we are here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on what's known as the Proceeding Word. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for practical applications and living in the kingdom. And then also we're here Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. for our typical and type Bible studies every single solitary Wednesday night. And of course, you're here with us on Bible Book Club, but we're also here on the Marath the Sabbath every Sunday at 10:15 a.m. For those of you who are with us on the Daraj Kingdom Ministries citizenship, we're hoping and praying that you are growing, learning, gleaning, and coming into a greater understanding of who Yahweh is. But right now, we got the Torah loading up. Let's get ready. Let's get started. And welcome to, as you know, our Thursday night Bible Book Club every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We welcome you here now, and let's get this party started. Torah is loading. All right. So we stopped off in the book of Genesis, chapter and number 47. And we stopped off at verse number 10, quite frankly. And we want to get right back into that so we can start where we left off at. I'll read from verses 1, Genesis 47, 1, down to verse 10. I will not stop, just to bring us into concept of where we are in this process and time. Let's get going. Then Usef came and told Pharaoh and said, my father, my brother, and my flocks and their herds, all that are with me, have come out of the land of Canaan. They are now, behold, in the land of Goshen. Verse 2 says, and he took some of his brethren, 5 men particularly. He presented them unto Pharaoh. Pharaoh said unto his brethren, what is your occupation? They said to Pharaoh, your servants are shepherds, both we and our fathers. And they said, moreover, unto Pharaoh, for To sojourn in the land are we come. The word sojourn there is the word here that you're going to see on the right of your screen. If you're looking at the VWJ Ministries on Facebook or YouTube, that word sojourn here is the word for H1481. It is the word gore. And that word means to properly state is to turn aside from at a road, to sojourn as a guest, also to shrink, to fear, to be in a strange place, to gather as for hospitality. It also means to abide, to assemble, to dwell at a place, to inhabit a place, to remain in a place, to sojourn, stand in awe, be a stranger somewhere. So they're making it clear. Verse 4, they said moreover to Pharaoh, for to sojourn in the land are we come. So this would mean we have become here to live here by permission, to dwell here as an inhabitant, to abide here, and to gather here for hospitality. So we're here to sojourn in this land. That's why we come. For your servants have no pasture for their flocks, for the famine is sore in the land of Canaan. Now, therefore, we pray you, let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen. Pharaoh spake unto Usef, saying, your father and your brethren are come unto you. Usef, the land of Egypt is before you. In the best of the land make your father and your brethren to dwell. In the land of Goshen let them dwell. And if you knowest any men of activity among them, then make them rulers over my cattle. Usef brought in Jacob, his father, and he set Jacob, his father, before Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. This word blessed here is the word H1288. It is the word barak from the Hebrew. It means to kneel down, by implication to bless, as an act of adoration. Okay. Moderators, please mod the room, please. To act by implication to bless. And then he goes on to indicate that that word blessed, that word barak, that word blessed means to do that as an act of adoration. So Pharaoh is being baraked by Jacob. Verse 8, Pharaoh said unto Jacob, how old are you? Jacob said unto Pharaoh, the days of my years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been. And I have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers, Avraham and Isaac, in the days of their pilgrimage. Jacob then baruched Pharaoh again, kneeling down to him, and he went out from before Pharaoh. Usef then placed his father and his brethren and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. All right, so I'm hoping that this all is making sense to you, and some of you are catching this and grabbing this and running with it by the horns, that he put him in the best of the land. And then in verse 11 is where we're picking up, because Jacob left before Pharaoh. Now, before we get going, let's do a little bit of housekeeping here real quick. All these programmings require that we do this. I'm sad I have to keep saying this to you all, but can you please, if you are on YouTube, if you are on Facebook, would you please hit the heart sign, hit the like sign. If you're on Facebook, would you please hit the like sign for the programming, the actual program of VWJ Ministries, and then hit the like sign for this particular broadcast. And if you are on YouTube, would you please subscribe, hit that bell, make a comment, and like it as well. That will be greatly appreciated. It goes a million miles for us in getting our programming out without being invasive on people's space, because the programming platforms suggest the programming to those who have like minds like you and I, okay? So we're asking you to be a part of that and get that under wraps for us, please. Those of you who are here as moderators, I'm glad that you're here. Thank you on Clubhouse. You can view the Bible on the YouTube or the Facebook page. Now, so verse number 10 goes on to make this clear to us. Let's look at this. That Jacob then baruchs Pharaoh, meaning he blesses Pharaoh, he baruchs him, he kneels down to him as an act of adoration. Fact is, Pharaoh is in fact a demigod to his people, but he is in fact an authority. And so in reverence, Jacob, though he is Israel, bows down to and gives reverence to Pharaoh for his hospitality. I mean, you are bringing your whole clan, herd, tribe, cattle, children, grandchildren into his land, and you're going to be occupying the best of the land. So Jacob comes in and he blesses Pharaoh. Many people didn't know what bless meant, and we played a game to make sure you guys would get it, but that's what it comes down to. I'm hoping we all understand that now. So verse number 10, let's continue reading and let's see how this goes. I'm going to move through it as we should. And here we go. So verse number 10 says, Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out before Pharaoh. He went out from Pharaoh. Verse 11, Usef, Zaphanath-Paneah, placed his father and his brethren and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramses, just like Pharaoh had commanded. So what was the land of Ramses? Well, that's the Hebrew word for 4H7486. It's Ramses. It is a place in Egypt. You and I know it as Goshen. Verse 12. And Usef nourished his father. What's that mean? He nourished. That's the Hebrew word H3557. It means he was cool, meaning that he took properly to keep, to hence, to measure, to figuratively, to maintain, in various of senses, to abide, to bear, to comprehend, to contain, to feed, forbearing, guide, holding, nourish, be present with, make provisions for, receive, sustain, provide, sustenance, and give victuals. So we know that Usef nourished, he took care of his father, he cooled his father and his brethren. Verse 12, and Usef nourished his father and his brethren and all of his father's household with bread according to their families. All right. Verse 13, and there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore. So the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. Let's look at the word fainted for a better understanding of how this word should be best applied. And this word is the word lahal. All right. In the Hebrew, the word lahal, meaning properly to burn out. It was fainted, to be burned, to be rabid, to be in exhaustion, a frenzy, to languish. It was faint. It was mad. So verse number 13, there was no bread in the land, for the famine was very sore. So the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And Usef gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, and for the corn which they brought. And Usef brought the money into Pharaoh's house. Let me reread verse 14, because many of you might not see this, but I want y'all to pay attention to it. Look at what it says. Please read. And Usef gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt, in the land of Canaan. He gathered it all up. Why? Because he sold corn. So all the people in Egypt by famine brought money to buy corn, brought money to buy grain. Verse 14 again with comprehension. Usef gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they brought. And Usef brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, and all the Egyptians came to Usef and said, look, we ain't got no more money, man. Can you give us bread? For why should we die in your presence? For our money fails. We don't have any more money in Canaan. We don't have any more money in Egypt. These are the people, the residents, the indigenous people of Canaan, the indigenous people of Egypt, coming to this broker, the governor, Usef Zaphanath-Paneah, and saying, we have brought all our money that we had. We brought as much as we can. Can you please just give us some bread? We don't have enough money to pay for it. Why should we die in your presence? It would be a terrible blight for you as a governor. Why should we die? Can you just give us money? We got no more money. We out of money, man. Usef said, All right, verse number 15. Let's go. Y'all ready? I hope y'all paying attention. When the money failed in the land of Egypt, when the money failed in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Useph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in your presence? For the money fails. Verse 16. Useph then said, give all your cattle. Give your cattle. And if you give me cattle, I will give you, I will give you for your cattle. I will give you grain for your cattle if you don't have any money. I'm going to read verse number 14 again because I want to make sure y'all catch this. Useph gathered up all the money in the land of Egypt and Canaan, and he brought the money into Pharaoh's house. Everybody got that? Everybody paying attention to that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So Pharaoh got all the money in the land.
Because of Useph.
No, because of the famine. Useph is the banker, if you want to put it that way. So what we're trying to make sure you guys are, I'm reading this slow because you'll be surprised how many people just walk by this like they understood it. There is no more, you can't grow grain. That's what 13 said. People are not growing because there's a famine in the land. The land is faint. There's no way to grow grain or corn. You know, Pharaoh was warned in a dream. Useph is overseeing the silos that have stored up grain and corn. So they've been selling it to the people, hoping the famine would end soon. Well, the famine hasn't ended, but their money, gold, silver, whatever else they call money, has run out because they're having to buy grain. They're having to buy grain and corn. Well, all the land of Canaan, which is outside of Egypt, and all the land of Egypt have all the money that all of the people owed or had in their possession, gold, silver, whatever else they traded as monetary currency. They use it to buy grain and corn to keep their herds and their families alive. So all the money is in Pharaoh's house.
That's a lot of money.
Exactly. Yes. And nobody's taught this way, but I want y'all to see what the writ says so you can understand how to read it carefully. So now all the money is in Pharaoh's house. From Canaan to all the province of Egypt.
Wow.
Nobody has money, bread, dinero, guap, pesos, dollar bill, y'all. All the money has, y'all don't get this yet. All the money of everybody is in Pharaoh's hands. All the heirlooms, the silver, dinette sets, the china, all the heirlooms of the family, all the trinkets that have been passed down, heirlooms, all of that gold, the jewelry that they had, all of that is in Pharaoh's custody because they needed grain. And they sold whatever they had to buy grain. Do y'all understand how rich Pharaoh is right now? He was already the man. Okay? Do y'all understand how rich Pharaoh is?
You made that real plain right there. Yes, sir. He owns everything.
He is the man. Now, he owned everything anyway because it's basically an autocracy. He's a king. And now all the money everybody had, he has it. All the money everybody had is in Pharaoh's hand under the guard of Useph, Zaphanath Paneah. I'm walking it slow because I read this to y'all before and nobody budged. Nobody said, ooh, wow, nothing. Just went right by. So let's take our time. We're in 47, Genesis 47, verse 14. Useph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt, in the land of Canaan, because the people bought the corn. Useph then brought the money for the corn. Who owned the corn, y'all?
Useph.
Who owned the corn? Pharaoh. So please catch the transaction. Useph is over what Pharaoh owns. So the people bought the corn. Pharaoh owns the corn. Useph, a very good steward, takes the money without taking any money, without being embezzling in any way. And he takes all the money to Pharaoh's house. Pharaoh gets all this money. Let that sink in. I'm gonna slow it up so it can sink in so y'all can get how much money this man got. Okay. I ain't count his pockets, but y'all need to know this so the rest of the story makes sense. Verse 15. And so I'll read 14 again. Useph gathered all the money that was found in the land because the people bought the corn. So Useph brought the money for the corn sales into Pharaoh's house. Verse 15. And when the money failed in the land of Egypt and Canaan, all the Egyptians came and said, look, we're out of money. Give us bread, please. Why should we die? We just don't have any money, sir. Verse 16, Useph then said, give your cattle. I will give you corn for your exchange of cattle, since money fails. Verse 17, so the people brought their cattle to Useph, and Useph then gave them bread in exchange for things like horses, for their flocks, for their cattle, of their herds, for their beasts of burdens, their asses, and he fed them with bread for their exchange of cattle all that year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are we making sense to everybody?
Yeah.
When that year was ended, they came unto him the second year.
Wow. Okay.
Can we do Bible Book Club the way it's supposed to be done?
I mean, I was hoping you jumped on in there.
So he took the money. He didn't take it. The people needed corn. That was a proper concession. He was warned in a dream there would be a famine. If he did not do this, everyone would have long been dead by now. But now you know that the silos were filled. He's saved up and he did it. So now he could sell it to the people who needed it to keep their cattle and their families alive. And now they ran out of money. They ran out of gold. They ran out of brass. They ran out of silver. They ran out of anise. They ran out of other things. And then he says, well, you're out of money. Okay. Okay. So let's exchange for livestock.
Wow.
So that year they exchanged for livestock. Well, guess what? Who's over in Goshen?
The Israelites.
What's in Goshen? The Israelites.
All Joseph's family.
All Joseph's family.
Okay.
That's the best land for shepherds. They got some greenery over there, a little bit. And so the cattle, the asses, the horses, all that goes to Ramses, all that goes into Goshen, where the Hebrews are taking care of Pharaoh's growing flocks and beasts of burdens. Because they're exchanging grain with the people who would bring their donkey, they would bring a horse, they would bring a cow, they would bring a bull, they would bring a goat, they would bring cattle to give sustenance for their homes. He already got the money. Now he has all the cattle.
For 2 years, right?
Not just for 2 years, in 2 years, this has happened. So the people are buying grain properly. There's no theft, there's no thievery, there's no, debauchery going on. They just actually they have to buy food. He's the only store for grain.
The only store.
He's the only grain store. He's the only corn store. The Pharaoh is. Remember, they were all warned in a dream. None of them did what Usef did. None of the people saved up anything. They just went through. So Usef, though he interpreted the dream, Egypt knew there's going to be a famine coming. Nobody prepared, but Pharaoh did. He prepared so the people would not. But in this, he's the only source of grain to sustain the people. And they are buying grain because they can't grow grain. So they ran out of money. The kingdom of Egypt didn't run out of money. The people, their personal savings accounts, they had to use to buy grain. Then they used their cattle, whatever else they owned, to buy more grain as they needed grain. So in that year, I'm hoping this is making sense to y'all. Verse 17, and they bought their cattle unto Usef, and Usef gave them bread in exchange for horses, flocks, cattle, herds, asses. He fed them with bread for that whole year based on their cattle. When that year ended, they came unto him the second year and said, listen, we will not hide it from you, master, how that our money is spent. Master, you also have our herds of cattle. Listen, there is nothing left in sight of my master except our bodies. We don't have anything else to barter except our bodies and our lands. Why should we die before your eyes? Both we and our land. Master, would you buy us and our land for bread? And we, the people of this land, will be your servants unto Pharaoh. Just give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. Anybody starting to understand the brevity here?
Yeah, they were desperate.
You think? I'm going to read it again. I don't think everybody caught it. Verse 18. This is why we do Bible study, Bible book club. Verse 18. And it came to pass in the second year, they said, listen, my Lord, we're not going to hide it from you. We are broke, man. All of our money is spent. You already got our herds and our cattle. There is nothing left, my Lord. There's nothing left to sell, to barter, except our bodies and our lands. Verse 19 says, why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? You know how bad it is out here. But look at verse 19. Pharaoh didn't suggest this. Usef didn't suggest this. The people suggested this. Buy us. Buy us and buy our land. We need bread. We and our land will be your servants unto Pharaoh. Just give us seed that we may live and not die. and that our land be not desolate. Okay, so let's take inventory before I read verse 20, because y'all, nobody think this is deep. Okay, let's just take inventory. So he has all the money, he has all the cattle, he has all the beasts of burdens. Not that he was trying to strip his people of this stuff. This drought was prophesied and it has taken its toll. And the people are now like, thank goodness you at least got grain to eat so we don't have to die of starvation. But to get it, O king, it's a proper sale transaction. So we don't have anything else we don't have any more money. We don't have anything else to trade with you, king. I'm a family of 8. You can buy our labor. And I got 29 acres. If you could just sell us some grain, when and if this is all over, we'll be your servants, Pharaoh. We're already your citizens, but we'll be your property.
That's the part right there.
Do y'all realize?
Just feel like the setup before.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is Santana.
Go ahead.
It just feel like the setup, what God did to get them here to where, before we even get to Exodus, and I could be wrong because I'm not read a whole lot of the Bible, but to prepare for what's coming in the next Exodus, like I said, like, is this where they really became servants based on?
No, this is not Egypt. This is not Israel.
Got you. Okay, the way I'm thinking in
Yeah,
Exodus.
these are not the Israelis selling themselves. This is not Jacob and the sons of Jacob selling themselves. This is all the people in the lands of Canaan, all the people in the land and the empire of Egypt, which is massive at that time. So all that he ruled over, he literally owned. And the people. Okay, let me just keep moving on. So look at verse number 20.
Hey, can I ask the question before you move on?
Quickly, go ahead, Santana.
Okay, so I'm wrong about referencing towards where.
No, you're not. You're not wrong about referencing the Exodus. This will store up. This is. That's what, yeah, you're not. No, you're not wrong about the Exodus, but this is not Israel becoming slaves. Israel does not become slaves in this process.
Okay.
This is where people make that mistake, and this is why I'm taking my time to explain this, but you're the only one asking questions, so let me deal with yours. This is not Jacob, because Jacob is under the protection of who, y'all?
Yahweh.
There you go, being churchy. Good. Usef, Jacob is under the protection of who, y'all? Okay. I'm not going to answer it. Let the Bible answer it. This is why when you read the Bible, you got to remember what you read before you go to the next place. Okay. So look at what's being said here. Look at what's being done here. Let's go back up a couple of verses. Who is Jacob? Who is Israel being protected by? Let's go to verse number 13. I'm sorry, verse number 11. And Usef placed his father and his brethren, gave them the possession of the land of Egypt, the best of the land and the land of Ramses, just like Pharaoh commanded. Usef nourished his father. Why y'all think I had y'all look up the word nourish? The word nourish is the word cool. The Hebrew word H3557. Look at the Bible on your screen to the right. So that's right, Mary Walker. Perfect answer, Mary Walker. Look at what it means. What's it mean to cool? What's it mean to literally be nourished by? It means to keep in, to measure, figuratively to maintain in a various of senses. He was able to keep, to abide, to bear, to comprehend, to contain, to feed, forbearing, guide, hold, holding, nourish, nourisher, be present, make provisions for, receive, sustain, provide, sustain, victuals. So who was covering Jacob? Who was covering Israel? Verse number 12. And Zaphanath Paneah, verse 12. And Useph nourished, cool his father and his brethren and all his father's household with bread according to their families. And there was no bread, switching stories, there was no bread in all the land, and the famine was very sore. So you have to understand verse 12 stops one conversation, verse 13 starts another conversation. So who, in fact, was covering all of Israel while they were in Egypt? Useph was, Pastor. And was Useph in charge?
Yes, he was.
So did Jacob have to sell his people into slavery?
No, not at all.
So who's going into slavery?
The people is fainting from the
land of Egypt, the land of Canaan, the people he oversees. Not him, but Pharaoh. Usef's family is exempt. They're not that big yet.
Thank you. Yeah, I see.
Everybody gonna act like Santana the only one that figured that out just now? Okay.
Hey, Santana, the other part, if I could just go one time, because you just went to this 12. My other thought was just as he said to his brethren that God allowed me to go through this because pretty much of this.
To save you alive, correct. What the enemy meant for evil.
Also the people too, right?
Right. So I got to slow you down because you're jumping fast, but your point is right. Nope, don't be apologizing. When he talked to his brother in a few chapters back, and he told them, what you meant for evil, Elohim meant for good. I was sent ahead of y'all to save y'all from what's coming. They would have been out of money too. Okay. Let me help y'all because.
Thank you.
Let me help y'all. Let's go back. Let me help
I ain't mean for you to go back.
Stop. No. That's what Bible Book Club is about. So don't do that. That's not what we're doing here. Let's go back because people need to understand what you're saying, and this is how you get comprehension of the Bible. So okay, let's go to chapter 45. Let's go to chapter number 45. What Santana is talking about is right here. Remember when Useph revealed himself to his brothers? This is before they went and got their dad. Verse 1. Then Useph could not refrain himself from before all them that stood by him. And he cried, because every man, and he caused every man to go out from me, and there stood no man with him, while Useph made himself known to his brothers. He wept aloud, and Egypt and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. Useph said to his brothers, look, I am Useph. Does my father yet live? The brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. Useph said unto him, brothers, come near to me, I pray you. Look. And they came near him. He said, I am Useph, your brother, who you sold into Egypt. Now, therefore, don't be grieved. Don't be angry with yourselves that you sold me here. Because the truth is, Elohim sent me here before you to preserve life. Y'all get it?
Wow.
Verse 6 says, for these 2 years since the famine started in the land, and yet you guys got to understand, y'all had to come up here and buy twice already, right? So we got 5 more years of this, bro. I'm reading verse 6. Y'all just don't like it. Verse 6 says, for there, you've been coming back and forth up here. This has been 2 years since the famine started. That's what you guys are experiencing. You know nothing about the prophecy that I helped Pharaoh interpret. So these 2 years that you've been dealing with that land getting tough and you came up here to buy grain, look, we got 5 more years of this coming, in which there will not be, we won't be able to do earring or harvesting. So, brothers, God sent me before you. Elohim sent me up here before you got here to preserve you a place of posterity in the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance.
That's why when you were saying that, I see. Thank you.
So verse 8 says, so now it was not you that sent me here, even though you sold me into slavery, but in the big picture, it was Elohim. And let me tell you how good it turned out, even though y'all tried to kill me. Elohim made me a father to Pharaoh and a master of all of Pharaoh's house, and I'm a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. So please hurry up. Verse 9, hasten and go to get my father and tell him your son Usef, Elohim made him master of Egypt. Come down, don't tarry. Hurry up. You're going to dwell in the land of Goshen. You're going to be near me, you and your children and your flocks and your herds and all that you have. And there, verse 11, look what he says. Does anybody want to read verse 11? And there will I what?
Nourish thee. Wow. Yeah, thank you for that one.
For watch this. For yet, though you're in year 2 of this famine, there are 5 more years of this famine. So y'all need to come now, lest you and your household and all that you have does what? Come to poverty.
Thanks. Yes. Okay.
Now, if you go to chapter 47, where we were, if you're selling your body, are you not in poverty?
You're in poverty. Oh, yes.
So when we go to chapter 47 and go back to verse number 12, watch. Verse 11 says, Usef placed his father and his brother and gave them possession of the land. Wasn't that what he said in chapter 45? He did it. He placed his father and his brother and gave them the land of Ramses. Verse 12, Usef did what? Nourished his father, his brother, his father's household, and all their families. And guess what? He did it just in time so that they will be under his care, because now the 5 years that he talked about are kicking in verse 13. There was no more bread in all the land. So if his father and his brothers were out there in Canaan, which is where they were, they would have been out of money too, buying Pharaoh's grain.
Yes.
I know me and Samtana ain't the only one on this call.
Oh, no, we're getting it.
So what he did when 45 was to tell them, I'm going to save you from poverty if you come now. Tell dad, stop tripping. Come on up here. I'll send some steaks down there for y'all to eat on the way up. You know what I mean? Y'all get up here. We got the wagons are us, the chariots are us. And y'all just come on up, and we got y'all covered. We're gonna cover y'all. We're gonna protect y'all. We're gonna nourish y'all, and we're gonna put y'all in the best possible place. While the rest of the world, as we are connected to, will go through this famine. You will be nourished by me and my household and my authority.
Woo-hoo. That's it. It's famine.
But I don't think we understand the severity of everybody else in all of Egypt. Is a mighty nation, y'all, not a city. Egypt is not a city. Egypt is a nation. And this is where I think that we, in trying to be deep, we missed the whole storyline. Egypt is not a city. Egypt is a nation, and the land of the Canaans is multiple cities. Canaan is Israel later.
Oh. Can you say it one more time?
Canaan land is Israel later. What y'all thought was Beulah land? Didn't y'all call it Canaan land? Wasn't that the promised land? Canaan land? What land you think we talking about?
That's the delightful land. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm sitting in that one.
So Canaan land is Beulah land. Beulah land is the promised land. The promised land is the land where Yahweh pushed the Canaans out so Israel could occupy the land. It's Israel later.
Did not see that.
And this is why I get so mad when we are preaching lessons that y'all don't even know where this. And Moses did this and they did. Y'all don't even. You gotta. This is why Bible book clubs are necessary.
I can't miss a class.
It's all right there in the Bible. And y'all been singing, "Oh Canaan land," right? "Oh Beulah land," right? Well, Beulah land is the Canaan land. The Canaan land is right here being talked about. All the people in the land of Canaan. Matter of fact, Jacob is outside of Canaan land, coming through Canaan land to get to Egypt to buy his first batch of grain. They got to go back through Canaan land to get to where Jacob is. So Jacob travels through Canaan land to get to Egypt, a land they will own later.
Yes, okay. I need a map. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you do. I recommend you get it. You got the seed of the reeds, you got the Red Sea, you got all that's connected to Egypt. And people really messed it up because the Suez Canal got y'all twisted. Y'all see the Suez Canal today and don't realize that Israel is in fact Africa. I'm doing too much history work for y'all. Okay.
You just smacked. No, that's right. You gotta pick our face up. Wait a minute.
The Suez Canal was crafted, designed to run water between those areas, and they created the Suez Canal for porting and for water and for thoroughfare. But when they did that, it separated Israel from Egypt, i.e., you would think Israel is not Africa.
Well, I don't think, do people know that today?
Not the average Christian. The average Christian's too unlearned. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
I'm so unlearned. I don't think Americans know that either. I think
that we don't, because we don't care about nothing going over there. The people over there know it. We don't care nothing about that. That's why it's called the Middle East. They just call it the Middle East. That's all y'all know, the Middle East. That's all y'all know, the Middle East. Y'all know Gaza. Y'all know Israel. Y'all know the Middle East.
That's a daggone shame you don't know this. it's a shame that it's just, I mean, I just never, yeah.
I'm nodding my head with you. I know you can't see me, but I'm nodding my head with you, Pastor Yolanda. It's a shame. And so we're around here preaching and teaching like we know, and we don't even know where Yeshua went to. Now, we got these little cute things by Rose Publication, and I do applaud Rose Publication. I love Rose Publications. And they show you these maps. So y'all get those maps and understand the geographics, understand the topography, and then go read your Bible. Now it makes sense. Now you know how it took them so long to get across the Red Sea from that point, how they end up in Goshen, how they ended up in Galilee, how they ended up in Capernaum, how they ended up in Judea. All of this is right here in this story. So when we talk about all the land, the nation of Egypt, go back and find the maps and find out how much territory Egypt was over at this time. It wasn't, I mean, because people act like this was just a city. Egypt is a nation. A nation is multiplicities of cities.
Wow.
And Canaan is the same way. Because in Canaan land, the tribes were given districts. 12 tribes, 12 districts, the nation of Israel. That was the Canaanite land.
Oh, Yolanda.
Go ahead.
So who renamed it the Middle East?
Yeah, people. Mm-hmm. People. If I get into that one, I got to break down the wars and everything. So we'll save that for we'll shelve that. We'll save that for another. We'll save that for another time.
Wow.
Okay, so just real quick now, so we can get on to this next part. So we're now in chapter number 47. We barely got out of it. We had to go back to 45 just to make this point. And so now y'all know that Israel was not who sold themselves to Pharaoh, but the Egyptians and others in Canaan who were not Israeli did. So let's go back to verse number 14, 13. We're in Genesis. We're in Bereishit 47. Let's go to 13. And there was no bread at all in the land, for the famine was very sore. The land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted. Now y'all can't never, y'all looking at Canaan different, ain't y'all?
Soon as my eyes laid. Sure am. Yeah. Soon as I seen it.
Because you were like, what in the world all this time? So now verse 14 says, and Usef gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, for they bought corn. Usef brought all the money that they spent for the corn and put it at Pharaoh's feet. When the money failed in the land of Egypt and Canaan, notice it didn't say in the land of Egypt and Canaan, but notice that this ain't got nothing to do with Usef, right? He in charge. He nourishing Israel. Israel's infantile. Israel's a baby. Verse 16, Usef said, give your cattle, since you don't have any money, and I'll give you grain for your cattle, since you don't have any money. No problem. He ain't trying to, he not trying to rape the people. He's not trying to stick it to them. He's not trying to gouge them. He's just like, I got to give something for this cattle, for this grain. So they brought their cattle. Usef gave them bread. They brought horses, flocks, cattle, herds, asses. Verse 18, when that year ended, the next year, they came and says, look, we're out of cattle and herb. Well, you know we're out of money. So only thing we got left is our bodies. Can we sell that for grain, sir? Verse 19, otherwise we're going to die, us and our land. And the reason that the land would die is because it would not be wise for Pharaoh to let the people who own the land, who've been working the land before this act of God, this famine took place. Then if the people died, then the land is going to die, because the people can't do the land when the famine is out. And Egypt will have another problem. One, you don't have people to fight. You don't have people to occupy the land that you do have possession over. So you can't let the people die, because you still got to be able to properly manage the land. And the people dead means the land's going to die. The land will always be able to produce, but the land will be dead to your purposes, Mr. Egypt man, if we're dead. So buy us and buy the land. We'll work the land. We'll be your servants. I got to live. You got to live. Are y'all learning anything?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So verse number 19. Wherefore we're going to die in the land. We, the land, and the servants of and the land. Verse 20. Usef then bought all the land of Egypt. Does this sentence now hit different? I'm gonna say it again. And Usef bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. Listen, for the Egyptians, he's already king over, sold every man his field to Pharaoh for grain, because the famine prevailed over them. And so the land became Pharaoh's.
The land.
Just the land of Egypt.
Exactly.
And as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt even to the other end. And only the priests did he not buy. Why? Because he was very religious. The priests, well, they had a portion assigned to them of Pharaoh. Guess who else had a portion assigned to them from Pharaoh?
The Israelites.
The Israelites. Okay, did I slow this down? Is this making sense, y'all?
Yes.
And the land of the priests, verse 22, he did not buy, for the priest's portion was assigned to them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their lands. Then Usef said unto the people, behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. So here is seed for you. And now you're going to sow the land that used to be yours, which now Pharaoh owns. And it came to pass in the increase that what you're going to do from here going forward is you're going to always give Pharaoh a fifth part, and then 4 parts shall be your own, for seed of the field, and for your food, and for them of your household, and for the food of your little ones. And guess what they said? Rightfully, they said, because he was being just, because he could have really went different with this. He gave them a really good deal. He says, and they said, you have saved our lives. Let us find grace in the sight of my master, my Lord, you Zaphanath-Paneah, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. Verse 26, Zaphanath-Paneah made it a law over the land of Egypt, even unto this day, that Pharaoh will always have a fifth part of your business, except for the land of the priests only, which became not Pharaoh's. Oh, but verse 27, well, Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions therein, and they grew and multiplied exceedingly. All right, I'm going to stop right there. I think we had enough discussion.
Ooh.
Wow.
Montgomery, go.
It's very powerful and pat. But I was thinking about even when Joseph in the beginning, you said he set up storehouses in all these different areas.
Correct.
When he went to those storehouses to receive. Now my question is, even though those storehouses were set up and they had to come here to Yusuf to get to sell, didn't he have people? Well, he had to get the authority, but then he had people over the other storehouses.
Correct. He set up banks.
Banks, right.
In every region.
Right.
So if the people traveled to the capital to negotiate with Yusuf, by the time they finished their negotiation, of course, they got a seal and a stamp, and the guards would record it and they would carry it up to the banks in that region that those people came from. So order and civility were in place. That's why I said he made it a law. Yusuf wrote law.
Right. So,
I just don't think the average Christian, with the stuff we pay attention to, don't pay attention to that.
So when you look at it at modern day, that is the same thing. But there were some other things I wanted to bring out in there. But one thing that came to mind was, and I could be wrong with this, was Malachi would bring the all. Everything was brought to the storehouse. The point I wanted to make, not just that point, but the point I wanted to make was that Yusuf knew his purpose. He knew what he was there for. So he operated in confidence, if I'm making sense. So everything he did with a purpose. He did understand. I'm not saying that at the time before this, he understood that about his father until his brothers came.
I believe he understood at the time of the dream.
Of the dream.
I believe right. At the time of Pharaoh's dream and Pharaoh taking it seriously and putting him in position, I believe.
Oh, you believe?
I believe he was aware of why.
Okay. So he began to operate from that aspect.
Yeah.
So him operating from that aspect and him putting things in position, and like you said, and over here he told his brothers that it was for a purpose, and he tells them again after the father dies that you thought it was for one thing,
right?
But the father had another plan,
right? So
plan had played out. So just come on back with me, and let's continue to live this thing out. I'm going to stop there. There were some other things in there that you said that. I
didn't say anything. We read.
Well, we read that I
we
wanted to.
We read, and that's an accurate depiction. He's telling his brothers, okay, one, y'all didn't expect me to be here. Two, it is me, and you have a right to be afraid, but don't be, because I now understand why it went down that way. I was sent ahead of you, though you sold me in hatred. And that's what some of y'all need to realize. I have to realize, and I keep realizing, some things in your circle can drive you away in fear for your life.
Right.
And when you get far enough away from the fear for your life and the pain that it's caused, and you're processing and managing the PTSDs of it, when you finally look up and realize that if I wasn't here at this time, I wouldn't be able to provide for them.
Yes.
So now you realize, okay, Elohim, it hurt. And I know and I know if you came to me and told me to go to Egypt, I'd have been like, yeah, not. So you had to drive me away. I get it. Because a lot of things, if Elohim told you what he had planned for you and told you where to go do it at based on your knowledge or your preconceived ideal about that particular place or thing, you'd be like, yeah, no.
Right.
So he's got to rip you apart. And that's where grief comes in at. That's he's ripping you from it. You're running for your life. You're being forced into a place that you don't even want to go into. But once you get there, okay, cool. You're making it. You don't know why. He suffered for 20 years.
And sometimes we're in that place, and because of the way it looks,
we
want to move sometimes because it doesn't look right.
Right. And see, most of us, if we realize if we're trying to make movements to get out of that thing, we're not getting out of it, we need to start looking around and appreciating it.
Right.
Thus, in all things, give Yahweh thanks.
Right.
And in that, now he can reveal things to you. Usef gave the thing I loved about Usef that he did was no matter where he went, he gave every subordinate or every superior the same service he gave his father.
Respect.
And that's why many of you in your jobs that you're in right now, and why my job shut down, and why my job shut down, and this, that, and another, and we don't give Yahweh thanks for this, and why they laid us off and all this, and we don't give Yahweh thanks for this, and then ask him what it's about. Because even for those of you who get transferred within jobs, you're saying to yourself, well, and you don't give your subordinates, or you don't get subordinates or your superiors the same energy you would want given you as a boss, you would want to give to a place that you prefer to be in. If you give, like Ephesians chapter 6 tells you, you know what I mean, 5-9, honor them who have that physical, natural rule over you, and don't give eye service as men pleasers, but give service as if you're giving service unto Elohim.
Right.
You'll be surprised how you can get elevated, and by the time them who threw you away see you and need you, I'm a living witness.
I'm telling you.
I'm a living witness. I've been thrown away by some stuff, and if I wasn't in position when they came back through, one shocked, you still alive?
Ooh.
And you in this position, and I got to come to you. I got to ask you. They won't do it unless you say do it. Y'all don't want to talk. Y'all don't want to talk.
Keep talking now.
That's real life. And they're like, and I got to go through you and the way I treated you. And because I didn't see you then as you are now, I treated you like they don't even know how to say I'm sorry. That's why if you notice, Usef had to tell them, hey, don't even try to say you sorry. Just come. No, I'm not gonna kill you, because you know I got you dead to rights.
Right.
I got you dead right. And they said they could, if you read 45, it says they couldn't even respond to him to answer his question, is my father yet alive? They like, this joker, this is Usef.
Yes.
They can't even answer him because they don't know if he's going to drive they don't know if a spear is going to come through their back, through their head. They don't know what's going to happen in that moment. They're like,
yeah.
And then he says, all right, I know your problem. It's me. I am your brother. Don't fear for your lives. I now know why I'm sent here. So let's hurry. We'll talk about this later at the family reunion. But right now, while we got still 5 years of this famine, go get my father, bring all of your children, all of your wives back up here so I can nourish you through this prophecy fulfillment. Now I know why I was sent here. Remember the dreams? Y'all thought y'all disrespected me in my dreams. Y'all thought I was tripping because I had a coat. I didn't ask for that daggone coat. I didn't ask for none of that. I didn't ask for my dad to love me like he did. My dad loved my mom. This was him demonstrated. I didn't know what y'all knew. He didn't like your mom. Your mom was Leah. He thought she was ugly. I mean, what you want me to say? You got mad at me over something that was, mom and dad issues. And you thought that so when I was telling you about the dreams, that's just what it was. I didn't know I knew what I know. And y'all thought I was crazy, trying to be deep just because daddy favored me. Y'all then killed me. But it was for a reason. So now I understand why the reason is. And that same thing y'all laughed at and hated me for is saving your life.
Right. Hallelujah. Yes.
Oh, and by the way, in the dream, the sheaves that bow down to me, well, you're doing that right now. Oh, and by the way, the moon and the stars that are bowing down to me, when daddy get here, he's going to go into Pharaoh and bow down in front of Pharaoh. Aha. Aha. Eat the soup. What do you mean eat the soup? Eat the soup. Aha. All right, everybody. We'll come back at this next week. We stopped off at...
We finished 31 and 47, but I also wanted to say, the word talked about seed for the sower, and they became the sower. He gave them seed to sow, and also that Pharaoh became their landlord through the process of being the shift. And then we'll see why they were positioned differently and shifted around as we go on. But I thought it was also, I know you're trying to go, I'm going to let you go, but I thought it was also awesome how Jacob got 17 more years with his son. In verse 28, what did he say? He says, I can die now. Mm-hmm. But he was graced 17 more years with his son.
Because that's how much he lost from his son.
Right.
Yeah. And so him losing those years by them selling his son, Yahweh gave him back those years with his son.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, next week. Can I say something? I'll say it. Never mind.
Go ahead. You got the floor. You got the floor, Prophet.
I kind of wanted to shift. I mean, there's so much still in here.
Yeah, we're not gonna get it to tonight.
But we're not gonna get to
we already an hour and a half in. Go ahead. What you got? What's your thought?
I'm not. But what I wanted to say was last week you asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
And you asked a question about us. You asked us about the repetition, about you speaking these things over and over again. And you asked for someone to speak about it. And I was going to speak about it Saturday, but I didn't get a chance. But what I wanted to say was that it is like repetition with the word is important. But what makes it more important is that we go back after we leave here and we go over it.
Again.
Because now what you do is enlighten us. You give us a vision. And when we go back, the vision shows us more than what we see. And it's like going into a high-end restaurant. You go into a high-end restaurant, you eat. And in the middle of the courses, they'll bring out some I can't even get it out now.
Appetizer?
Not the appetizer. Sorbet. Yes.
The bread. Is it sorbet or you saying
sorbet? Yes.
Sorbet. Okay.
Right. I understand. And it depends on the restaurant.
Right.
And it cleans your palate.
Right.
Cleans your life and they don't clean it so you can go home. They clean it so you can eat more. And that's what Sabbath is like. Sabbath is like that. When you go into Sabbath, you're being cleansed. And in the process, you're being cleansed so that you can receive more. Not that you go home and rest and say it's okay, but that you can receive more. Now, if you
pause, because you're gonna lose them. You don't take the sorbet just to eat more. You take the sorbet because it cleans your palate. Right. So the foods and the different categories of food, entree, the hors d'oeuvres,
Yes.
the appetizers, the desserts. You clean the palate so you can taste
Right.
everything, not so you can eat more, but you can taste everything and not have them cross tasting in your mouth.
Right. That's right.
Great point. Yes.
Yes.
Very important.
So, yeah. So I was just wanted to say how important it is, and in the beginning it might seem redundantly, but after you come here enough, you keep coming, then it starts to make sense. It's almost like when you first come or you first give your life to the Lord, you walk into a room blindly because you haven't gotten that pure relationship with Him.
Mm-hmm.
So you might bang your foot because it's dark, you can't see it. You begin to be familiar with things, but what eventually happens is it's like, let's turn on the light. The light comes on, and you can see, oh, this is why this is here. This is why this is here. Oh, I forgot about this. It's like once that light comes on, because you're spending that time in the Word, you're spending that time in these sessions. It brings light to your situation. It brings light to the Torah, and it causes you to live that abundant life. Amen. It causes you to come out of the darkness, which the Word says, into the marvelous light. The marvelous light is knowing the Word, having a covenant in the Word.
With the Word, because the light is the Word.
With the Word.
And that's the process and the benefit of redundancy or repetition in the Word. And then when you're done here from hearing it over and over again, like we did just today, now you have a way when you're home in your own personal time. And once you start to travel that path again, open up those passages you've read here alone, you have a doorway now into that grace, that glory, where you can extract grace, and you're seeing it. Every new step you make over that old pathway that was redundant, now you see it illuminate even more, and you can taste each ingredient.
Yeah,
Big difference.
Great.
All right, well, take care. Yeah, great encouragement. Yeah.
So,
I appreciate it.
Yahweh be praised. Yahweh be praised. Well, everybody, it's been a joy being with you. I'm hoping that you guys have learned that everything in Elohim's timing is about what He, in fact, has prepared. And what does that mean? Read His writ. You'll see how He prepares things. He knows His plans concerning us. Plans of good, not of evil, plans to give us an expected end. But He left them for us to read. And what He's done for others, He'll also do for you. But if you don't know what He's done for others, Torah, Tanakh, even your Bible, you won't know what to expect for you in your situation. This is why you read the Bible in redundancy, so that you can see and taste all that He has already prepared. Well, everybody, it's been a joy sitting here and chatting with you guys. I'm hoping that we'll get a chance to chat some more. May Yahweh bless you and keep you is my earnest prayer. And we'll talk again soon. Have a wonderful day. Shalom Aleichem.
If you need truth, this is the place for you. Don't need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken. If you need need truth, this is the place for you. No need to complicate it, it's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.